Is Homelander one of the greatest modern day villains? Easily. In this video, I'm going to put up a case of where he ranks amongst his peers and what makes Homelander the greatest villain of this decade. I hope this video don't get me banned. I got 3 exhibits here with me today on why Homelander is the best villain of the decade. Let's start with Exhibit A. Your Honor, for this section of the case, I will be going the statistical route. I will break down the many crimes of Homelander, and by the end of this segment, we should have a rough estimate on how much time behind bars our favorite bleached-haired menace should be serving. Without further ado, let's get started.
Exhibit
This segment totally isn't inspired by dead meat. Let's start with the murders, why don't we? Or at least the ones we actually know about. When Homelander was just born, he rose up from the air, after lasering his mother's guts open, of course, and murdered 3 doctors. I don't know if I mentioned this, but it gets a little explicit. In the Season 1 promo, Kid Homelander murders his tutor by hugging her, but whenever the doctor comes in to collect her body, he says he's gonna do with her like he did the others. So I'm gonna count that as at least 3, so right now we should be at around 7. I'm gonna skip over the animated series, because let's be honest, we don't care about that. But from what I know, he kills 11 people. Oh, hey.
Are you making a video?
I am. I'm a lawyer.
Well, the TV says sex dating on it.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
I don't know what you have your mother watching, but hit back like you said. And now
Back to what we were saying. In Season 1, he starts off by killing an unnamed Robert, then killing Mayor Steven and his son when he slices a plane in half. Oh, yeah, and the other 116 passengers in the plane, you know, no biggie. We get 12 terrorist kills and him killing Madeline Stilwell, so that racks up to about 143 if I'm correct. And right now we're just talking about the first season, keep that in mind. In the second season though, he gets a humble 12 kills, nothing too crazy. In Season 3 he gets a cool 6 kills, including an octopus, which I don't know if we're gonna count that, but you know, octopus lives matter, so we'll count that anyways. Now I'm making this video before the series finale, so bear with me now. But from where I'm at in episode 7, he has 14 kills, but I'm sure he's gonna get more by the end of the series. This lands us at a cool 170 kills, with 40% of them being supes. This isn't the end of his crimes though, if you know you know. Now, racking up all of his crimes and taking into consideration that The Boys takes place in Manhattan, Homelander should be serving around 2,555 years in prison. Oh yeah, and not to mention, that's the minimum. With that in mind, that means that Homelander should serve about 85 generations worth of time in prison. And that concludes Exhibit A. I don't know why I clapped,
Exhibit B.
We will now be moving on with Exhibit B. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to discuss not just the actions, but the very essence of who Homelander is. A man who under the guise of heroism has proved to be one of the greatest villains of our decade. To understand his villainy, we must dive into his mental state. Homelander, portrayed by Anthony Starr, is not just the villain because of his actions, but because of his deeply disturbed mental state and warped philosophies. Born and raised in a lab, Homelander was devoid of a normal childhood. He was subject to experiments and isolation. Homelander acknowledges his artificial upbringing, resulting in emotional and psychological damage.
者たちを見つけ出してどこに隠れていようがそいつに神の裁きを教えてやることだからだそう思わないかそれこそがアメリカじゃないのか我々がやるべきことじゃないのかだが待て今はまだできないんだ私は議会がいいというまで待たなくてはならないそうだろうそこで私はキリストに応えたい私は君たちを守るために選ばれた神が私にお与えになった使命とはアメリカを守ることじゃないか
Here we see the manifestation of his God complex. Homelander believes that his immense power entitles him to dictate the course of the world. This is not the philosophy of a protector, but that of a dictator. I don't know why I'm doing the Trump hands. Something about this suit is just really, This indoctrination with his own son shows his intent to perpetrate his own twisted worldviews into everybody else. He sees himself as a god among men, justifying his actions. Homelander's philosophy extends to manipulating his own public perception. He exploits the media to maintain the facade of heroism. His ability to sway the public perception is a testimony to his understanding of psychological manipulation. Dr. Vogelbaum's testimony underscores the core of Homelander's mental issues. His lack of empathy combined with immense power creates a violent, dangerous individual. He is a product of his environment, designed to be superior, but fundamentally flawed in his understanding of humanity. In conclusion, Homelander's mental state is characterized by a profound belief in his superiority over others. His philosophy is not one of protection, but domination. These traits, combined with his unparalleled power, makes him the greatest villain of this decade. We must hold him accountable for these actions, and for that, I present my final case.
Exhibit C.
Ladies and gentlemen, to truly understand the magnitude of Homelander's villainy, let's compare him to some of the greatest villains in all of cinema. Thanos, Darth Vader, Voldemort. Each of these villains are known for their unique brand of evil, but Homelander exceeds them in many critical aspects. Thanos, the Mad Titan, is driven by a sense of balance. His goal to wipe out half the universe, while albeit horrifying, at least it stemmed from an altruistic purpose. To save the universe, to save overpopulation, Thanos wants to rescue. Thanos is driven by a clear, albeit flawed, philosophy. Homelander, on the other hand, acts out of sheer narcissism. Unlike Thanos, who believes his actions serve the greater good, Homelander is completely self-serving. His need for adoration and control, combined with his willingness to kill indiscriminately, makes his brand of evil even more chaotic and unnatural. Darth Vader, once Anakin Skywalker, is a tragic figure whose descent into villainy is marked by personal loss and manipulation. Vader's story is one of redemption. He ultimately finds a way back to the light, driven by his love for his son, while Homelander's narrative lacks this redemption arc. Each and every one of his interactions are characterized by manipulation and control. His capacity for cruelty is only matched by his need to maintain his facade as a hero, making him even more dangerous as he deceives those around him. Voldemort, the Dark Lord, is driven by fear of death and desire for immortality. His evil is marked by his willingness to split his soul and commit unspeakable acts to achieve his goal. Voldemort's reign of terror is brutal, but his motivations are clear and his vulnerabilities are evident. Homelander's motivation is even more insidious. His pursuit of power is not to escape death or to achieve a grand ideological goal, but to sustain his insatiable ego. He uses his vulnerability and strength not just to dominate, but to install fear and submission into those around him. Unlike Voldemort, who is mortal and fallible, Homelander's near invincibility makes him a perpetual threat. In conclusion, while Thanos, Darth Vader, and Voldemort are iconic villains in their own right, Homelander exceeds each of them in his relentless pursuit for power. His lack of any redeeming qualities, and his ability to mask his true nature under the guise of heroism. His unpredictability, emotional instability, and his absolute power makes him the greatest villain of this decade. He is not driven by a flawed ideology, personal loss, or fear of mortality. He is purely self-serving. He is driven by an unsustainable need for control and absolute power. This combination makes him a uniquely terrifying villain. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we've explored the extensive list of Homelander's extensive crimes. We've delved into his disturbing mental state and dark philosophies. We've even compared him to some of the greatest villains in modern-day storytelling. Through these examinations, we've seen how he surpassed multiple villains to be one of the greatest villains, no, the greatest villain of the decade. And that is a wrap. Look at me. Over here sweating and stuff for y'all, man. If y'all see this, I'm over here sweating. If y'all enjoyed the video, please leave a like. Y'all don't gotta share, that's OD. If y'all could like, subscribe. I told y'all, look, I told y'all my next video is gonna be better than the last. I told y'all.